7 myths you still believe about Canada. G'day, guys. How's it going? My name is AussieTash. So, surrounded around Canada, there are so many myths, so many thoughts. I'm really interested to see, after doing this channel, if I still believe in these myths, if I'm still familiar with these myths, or if I know the truth. So, let's get into it, test me, and see how I go.
I moved here from Canada and they think I'm slow.
No,
eh?
you
That was
don't
a
talk
Simpsons
like that,
reference.
eh?
So we Canadians aren't exactly known for our mysteriousness, and we're definitely not known for lying. So why, oh why, are there so many lies about our great nation floating around out there?
Yeah.
Other than, of course, the truth that we all ride polar bears to work. In this video, I'm going to take the 7 most commonly believed myths that you likely still believe about Canada and explain the truth behind them. So if you think that we apologize a lot and that our national animal is a beaver and that we eat maple syrup in pretty much every meal, well, you'd be right.
That's
But
probably
today I'm
right,
going to
then.
be covering the
That's
rest of
correct.
the stuff.
Okay.
So this is 7 myths you still believe about
All right,
Canada.
let's see.
Most Canadians see snow year-round. One of the biggest cliches about Canada is that we all live in igloos and get around by dog sled.
No,
and
not
as fun
so
as that sounds,
much.
it's just not true. In fact, most Canadians have never even seen a real-life dog sled, let alone traveled on one. The truth is, though most winters can be super harsh, most of the country's population experiences summers that could make a Californian sweat. See, the majority of Canadians live close to the Canada-US border, and thus experience similar weather to that you'd expect in places like Boston or New York City. And as you likely know, nobody's navigating Times Square in a dog sled. Toronto is the capital of Canada. With the largest population and standing as arguably the most famous Canadian city, Toronto seems like the perfect place to call the nation's capital. But while it does hold the title of the capital of Ontario, it's actually Ottawa, another Ontario city, that holds the big label.
Okay, so when I first started learning about Canada, I was 100% convinced that Vancouver was the capital. Don't know why. Maybe it's because you see it on all the, the Hollywood movies, or, a lot of things are made in Vancouver and stuff like that. Yeah, but I always thought that Vancouver was the capital of Canada. So yeah, that's one thing I have learned. It does snow there. Like, if you go to places like Winnipeg, from what I've heard, they call it Winterpeg, and it snows there. And it snows for quite a lot. And I'm hearing that it gets like minus 40 degrees there, yet they still like to go to the 7-Eleven and buy a Slurpee. So I absolutely love that. I find that hysterical. But yeah, okay, here's a cool question for you. If you're from Canada, have you ever not seen snow? Mate, I've seen snow maybe twice in my life. One, I went to the snowy mountains of Australia and went, tobogganing and stuff on the potato sack. And another time I was at my grandparents'. They live in New South Wales. Man, when it gets cold there, it does actually snow. So there, here you have it. But if you're from Canada and you have never ever seen snow, please jump on and tell me, what part of Canada do you live in? I'd love to hear it. Very, very fascinated about this, because this gentleman is telling me that some people that live in Canada have actually never seen snow.
As the designated center of political power, a capital city needs to be well protected as well as have access to an abundance of resources, not to mention transportation networks. Queen Victoria chose Ottawa to be Canada's capital on December 31st, 1857. Not only was it in an excellent defensive position, but Ottawa was also chosen because of its location right on the border between French and English-speaking Canada. With convenient access to 2 different waterways, Ottawa was accessible to both populations and made for the perfect place for a capital.
That makes more sense. Okay, that makes more sense than where our capital is located. Our capital is Canberra, Australia's capital territory. It's situated in the state of New South Wales, but it's considered its own territory. It's really in the middle of nowhere, mate. There is no water near there. You're basically hundreds of kilometers away from anything to drive to Canberra. It's about maybe 2-3 hours away from Sydney. And I'm guessing from Melbourne, oh mate, it's probably at least an 8-hour drive from Melbourne. But like I said, there's nothing there. There's no water there. There's no beaches there. You can't ship things from there. The only way you can transport things from there is on a big truck, mate. Semi-trailers. That's it. So yeah, it's not really situated in the best spot. There's nothing there. There's absolutely nothing there. Our capital, Canberra, is basically where the politicians live. And that's it, mate. You're not living in Canberra. It snows there, it's cold there, it's in the middle of nowhere, and like I said, it's just full of politicians. It's not a travel destination. You don't see ads on the TV saying travel to Canberra. You just don't see it. I'm pretty sure like Canada has the Royal Mint. The Mint's there as well, and there's some really cool museums and stuff like that, but you go there in a high school for like an excursion or something like that, in primary school for an excursion. But yeah, you're not going to travel there. You're not going to take your family there over the school holidays. Not fun at all. All right, Canadians don't have guns. This is another myth. Let's hear all about it.
Canadians don't have guns. This myth comes up most often when comparing laws and murder rates between Canada and the US.
Okay,
but we'll do a little comparison.
All
For
right.
instance, it's an incredibly rare occasion to have a license granted in Canada to carry a gun for personal protection.
Yeah, you
However,
can't
to
here in
say
Australia,
that
mate.
Canadians absolutely hate guns or that no Canuck owns one is an absolute falsehood.
Okay.
Under the Firearms Act of 1995, over 7 million Canadian citizens possess firearms.
Wow.
But these are mostly for sporting and recreational use. Canadian beer is stronger. This myth's creation is mostly due to a misunderstanding of how alcohol percentages are represented in each country. In the United States, percentages are determined by weight and displayed on the bottle's label. But in
Yes.
Canada, we measure the alcohol content by volume.
That's what we
this
do as
means
well.
Is that seeing
Yeah, we're the
4%
same as Canada.
alcohol in a beer in America
Yeah.
and 5% in Canada doesn't actually mean that there's 1% more in the north. Alcohol weighs less than water, making
Yeah.
it seem like American beer is weaker. But the reality is that most beers around the world ring in at around 5%. So
Okay.
whether it's Budweiser or a Molson Canadian, it's going to hit you the same.
Okay, so we weigh our alcohol content consumption thing on the bottle, the packaging, and the labeling, the same as what Canada does. So there you go. There's something that Australia and Canada have in common in returns to alcohol volume and labeling and packaging on their beers. Let's go back to the guns. In Australia, mate, you cannot have a gun for self-defense or anything like that. You can qualify for a hunting rifle, but you have to live in a specific area of the country. You can't be living in the city centre and have a hunting rifle. There's nothing for you to hunt there. You have to qualify. It depends on places like where you live, what you're particularly hunting it for. You can't just say, oh, I want a hunting rifle. You've got to say what you're hunting it for, what part of the area you'll be going to hunt with the gun and stuff like that. If you have the gun outside your licensed hunting area, mate, they will take it off you. I'll tell you a little bit about security guards in Australia. Security guards in Australia, they do not carry a weapon. I'm not sure if they do in Canada. They don't even carry a taser, mate. They're just encouraged, like your mall security guards or your nightclub security guards and stuff like that. They can't carry a rifle. They can't carry a taser. They're just encouraged to carry, like a really, really big torch, like a heavy torch just in case. Yeah, like the security guards, they can't get, a gun license. The police, they have their gun license. In Australia, you ain't getting the gun license. It's just, that's it. This is not going to happen. Like I said, unless you qualify for, the hunting license, but yeah, then you're on the government list and you're on that list now, guys. So yeah, our gun laws in Australia are very, 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 very strict, man. Our Prime Minister, John Howard, said, look, everyone, don't care if your gun's legal or not, you give it to me and I'll buy it off you. So yeah, that's how we did it. Even if the gun was illegal, there was no questions asked. Surrender your gun and we'll give you money for it. So yeah, man, literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of guns were sold back to the government, and then all the laws come in and squashed gun ownership, mate. So yeah.
Canada is policed by Mounties in red coats on horseback. People, how could you actually believe this
No,
myth? Come
you
on
can't
now.
believe
Most
that.
criminals have access to a car, which means that they can outrun a horse.
Yes.
Logic. In Canada, we absolutely do have Mounties, more formally known as the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, or
Yeah.
RCMP. But they're our national police
Yeah.
force and only wear the red ensemble for official or ceremonial purposes. Additionally, the most populated provinces, Ontario and Quebec, are policed by their own provincial police forces. And I assure you, they get around by cruiser, not by horse. Canada is ruled by Britain. Yet another big misconception is the idea that Her Majesty the Queen II
Yeah.
dictates our laws and rules
No.
from across the sea. Allow me to explain the truth. Canada is a parliamentary democracy and a constitutional monarchy.
That's
the Queen
the
herself
same as
is only a
Australia.
figurehead
Exactly
in our
the same.
country, but she really only fills ceremonial and symbolic roles. She's actually represented by the Governor General here in Canada. As for who makes the decisions in Canada, we have our own Prime Minister and government. They're the ones who are elected in and decide which laws need to be adhered to, much like the United States.
Okay, so that is exactly the same in Australia. Yes, we're under the Commonwealth. Yes, we have a Governor General, but we also elect our own politicians, our own prime ministers, and, you know, they make laws, or we have referendums to change laws and stuff like that. So yes, we are very, very similar to Canada. You know, we both go to the Commonwealth Games together if we're under the Commonwealth. King Charles III is now our head of state. We have an elected Governor General like Canada. I'm not quite too sure what his or her name is. Have no idea. But yes, that's another similarity that Canada and Australia have together. The British, yes, they did colonise our country, but they don't rule our country. No way, no how. Never gonna happen, mate.
People don't lock their doors in Canada. In 2002, documentary filmmaker Michael Moore made a bold statement that Canadians felt so safe they refused to lock their doors in a movie called Bowling for Columbine. His theory was that we were totally unafraid of crime, which is ridiculous. Now, according to Statistics Canada, this is definitely a safer country than the United States when compared to violent crime rates like aggravated assault and homicide. But believe it or not, there are a few crimes like property and car theft in which the Great White North actually has higher rates in. And because of that fact, most of us absolutely lock our doors.
And let's just get back to that video. It was absolutely fantastic, but like this guy's just said, it said some inaccuracies. Canadians, you guys lock your doors. Why wouldn't you? I mean, it's not just about safety. It's just like, it's something that you should do. In Australia, we lock our doors. That's just it. This is how it goes. I'm not locking my doors because, you know, I'm afraid of getting broken into or anything. I just feel more comfortable with my doors locked. I don't like having the doors unlocked at all. My doors are locked even right now when I'm here, front and back. We have the screen door for the doggy doors. You guys know I've got the 2 dogs. So the screen door, so they can get in and out of that, but the door itself is always locked. It's just how it is in Australia. We have lots of car thefts and stuff like that. I don't really see a lot of things on the news about home invasions and stuff like that. Honestly, it's more car theft, mate. Cars, they're getting stolen all the time, especially in Queensland at the moment. Unfortunately, we've got the title as the #1 state to have your car stolen at the moment. So, yeah, just keep your cars locked, guys. Have all the video equipment on your cars. Have the Find My Car things all set up to your phone. You know, have them insured because you never know what's going to happen. All right, that was the video for today. Guys, I hope you liked how I compared, you know, Canada to Australia and how some of our things are similar and some of them aren't. If you enjoyed the video, please jump on, smash the like button, leave a comment, and of course remember to subscribe. That really helps me out. Cheers to down under. Take care. Bye.